Presidential Affairs. Also in the room we have key players from the ministries, departments and agencies, and all these have an impact on what trade between Uganda and many other countries is all about.
Thank you, Chairman Olivier Rwabogo, for these fantastic introductions. It was amazing. Member for Parliament, I see CEO for Uganda Airlines, welcome. I had the opportunity to meet with you. Our government officials, member for PASAID, board members, staff, everyone in this room of all protocol observed. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I want to hear you. So again, my name is Dr. Olivier Kamanzi. Founder and the chairman for Africa Global Chamber of Commerce based in Chicago. Our mission is to promote trade, investments, cultural exchange, education between Africa and the global markets, starting from the United States of America. We accomplish this through this, what we are doing right now, partnerships, like the partnership we enjoy with PASAID. That's what we do on the continent. Also, we have signed several MOUs with various African countries on the continent, as well as the regional blocks, like a SADC region, ESC, ECOWAS. We have signed MOUs, almost we have signed with 35 countries on the continent. Also, we signed with individual countries as well. So also by profession, my background is investment banking, over 30 years, working with JP Morgan Chase, Citibank, until I was called by the government of Rwanda, where I left I was a teenager. After 30 more years, I was called to go back to Rwanda to develop capital market industry and help to set up Rwanda Stock Exchange. After 3 years, I returned back, and then that's when I thought it was appropriate now to mobilize African diaspora to invest back home, to bring back in the country, to bring to them in Africa. So I think what I have learned in the 3 years being here in the East African community, I want to see if really you can mobilize, because my feeling was, how can a nation can go home to sleep knowing that its children are not home? I'm referring to African American. They have investable assets over 1.7 trillion US dollars. They are dying to invest back home, but they don't have, we're not opening a space for them. For me, having lived on the continent, I felt we need to create policies. We need to create spaces. I'm really happy to see Member for Parliament here to really help us to mobilize those assets, to bring them here. Not just their money. We need to bring them as the children coming back home. So now, when Chairman Rwabogo approached me to help this beautiful country, Uganda, where I've never been before, I said, I'm here to serve you. Thank you, Rwabogo, for giving me this opportunity. And then in December 2022, we had the privilege to host His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni in Chicago on December 16, 2022. So that was really amazing because he spent with us 2 hours. He told us, this is the first time going somewhere, spend 2 hours connecting with African American, African, Latino, Afro-Caribbean, as well as African immigrant, also all American audience. So he spent the quality of time. During that time, that's when he appointed me as his trade representatives, Uganda trade representatives in the US. So I'm here really very privileged. Also, I have my colleague here. You can see Cody. Cody on the picture, you can see also he runs some coffee business. You know him as well. So without taking your time, I want to thank Dr. Matanda, with whom we have been blessed really to help to see how Uganda can help in terms of how do we connect the US and the Uganda markets. Please don't be discouraged. When you can enter the US market, you can do more. It's possible, it's still doable. We are here, we know we have been in the US more than 30 years, we understand. We work with them, we work with the Congress, we work in all agencies. That's why we're here to really help to see how can we expand this big market for 18 trillion US dollars. Very big market. It's doable, we can do it. So without going into details, why do we need the US market? That's the reason why we want to be in the US market. Don't be discouraged. 1.7 trillion US dollars just for African American is doable. That money can come here and help Ugandan exporters to take Ugandan product, those 13 products identified to go back to the US. Is doable. So if I can go, that's why I really think US, you cannot discontinue US market. It's a big market. Remember, it's not just a market as any other market. You have your own people. We are there, we live there, we are Americans. Even though our origins are here, there are those who left unwillingly, those who left willingly. Those who left unwillingly, they want to come home. I will tell you why we need to bring them home. So you see the whole market. Let me just give you to Dr. Matanda. Can you just read quickly, in terms of numbers, why do you want to be in the US market? Why would you be there?
Thank you so much. Let me quickly go through this deck, and I will come back to telling stories in a few minutes. The United States exports $122 million to Uganda. That's how much it did in 2023. Uganda's exports to the United States were a combination of $115 million, $110 million, $202 million and 19 cents, so to speak. Let me just jump down to the figure, AGOA exports. If you see what happened in 2020, see what happened in 2021, see what happened in 2022, see what happened in 2023, AGOA exports have been jumping exponentially. Now, somebody is probably going to ask, what is the meaning of AGOA? So let me just break it down. AGOA is not an agreement. AGOA is not a government program. AGOA is very simple. It says, we have access, we want to give you access to our market. Bring your 6,700 products to the United States and sell them. But many people don't realize the United States has to pay for you to export under AGOA. I'll say it again. The United States has to pay, which means Congress, now Robert, this is to address your question earlier. Congress has to pass the law. Yes, the United States president says, yes, you can bring the product in, but AGOA is just access to the market. So when you bring in your product, it says, okay, fine, you're bringing in vegetables. Vegetables are acceptable under AGOA because they block products from Papua New Guinea. They block products from Singapore so that Uganda can have the privilege. Unfortunately, in 2024, that number is going to go from $13.43 million to zero. Why? Because Uganda is no longer an AGOA beneficiary. But there's something even more important. It is the number below that. US direct investment abroad. Uganda has been benefiting a great deal. $76 million in 2020, $92 million in 2021, 104 in 2022. Now, the difference between FDI and US direct investment abroad is that that number, it is not $76 million in 2020, then an additional $92 million in 2022. No, it's not. It is 76 minus, or 92 minus 76. It is 104 minus 76. The point is that it is not money that comes in every single year. It is, if the number had gone down, then you know that the United States does not trust you. What that figure shows is that more American investors have confidence in this country, and that's why it's important. We will talk about this later. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Matanda. Thank you so much. Please give him a hand. Wonderful. So here we want to show you how with the withdrawal for Uganda from AGOA, how some sectors of economy are going to be impacted by the loss of AGOA. A company like the Simons Limited, giving you an example, someone involved in vanilla, who 80% for export revenue will be lost, or is being lost, because, as he mentioned, he used to have orders. Those orders will want to be satisfied because people can say, hey, now we are going to be taxed. Therefore, we are not ordering from you. A country in leather products, arise corrections. All exports were being done to the US through AGOA, 100%. Now, is losing over 150% was cut orders. It actually is a negative because potentials which were coming are not coming in. That's why you see the more than 100%. You see beautiful leather products. Right now we're going to the US. Actually, when His Excellency President Museveni came to Chicago, this lady received over 1,000 bags orders to fill the US market. Those orders are going to be cut because of this AGOA. She had received huge orders. Now she's going to be impacted. That's why we need to help us to make sure Uganda is reinstated in AGOA. The Ugandan exporters, farmers, everybody is not being affected by AGOA. So what are we doing to make sure we keep market open? As I said, as a Uganda trade representatives, have identified the US buyers, mainly African American who really wants to buy Ugandan-made products because those are our people. We need to connect with them. I have shared the list of the US buyers. We want to really bring them in the month of May or June. We're going to talk about it. Another thing we are doing, I'm here to let you know Chicago is ready to open Uganda Connect Hub this year. We want to make sure the 13 products coming from this market arrive in Chicago. We have warehouses where we're going to have stored the Ugandan product and then ship them to various markets throughout the 50 states in the United States. So we're going to have a Chicago first, second will be Atlanta, third will be Dallas and Boston. Overall, we have identified 17 distribution centers across the United States of America. Next, we had to make sure we have a manpower. You can't do this without people. So what we have now, PASAID has what we call a country desk officer in here in Uganda. In Chicago, I have just hired a lady who's Ugandan, who's now heading our country desk office. She's really helping me as a trade rep to mobilize to help me to do the work what we are doing in the US. Another thing we are doing what we call trade missions, inbound and outbound trade missions. Inbound, what's coming to here in Uganda, outbound, what's coming from in the US. So we had one first US-Uganda International Trade Summit and Exhibition in December 2022. That's why I said His Excellency came to Chicago, traveled with almost 27 Ugandan exporters or companies. We had also last year, in August 2023, we had the same summit and exhibition of Ugandan-made products coming to Dallas to showcase what is being made in Uganda. This is an annual program. We intend to do this year as well. Within 2022, 2023, we intend also to continue really to make sure Uganda, by the way, this program is the first in the kind in the US market. No other country has done what Uganda is doing in the US, reaching out the US market. Now, we intend to continue to engage US buyers to buy Ugandan-made products. Last year in December, when AGOA was announced to be withdrawn from Uganda, we had the privilege to see Chairman Rabogo traveling on behalf of the Minister for Trade and the Industry and the cooperatives. And in December, we had a long week of engaging US audience, whether it's the Congress, member for Congress, whether the Senate or US representatives. We have a private society, civil society. We have all audience to come to really to make sure we strengthen the trade relations between Uganda and the US, as well as to make sure AGOA is maintained. Unfortunately, we were running a little bit late, was taken away. Also, the main reason why Mr. Rabogo had to travel to the US was to meet with the US trade representatives. He engaged them. We believe that when you engage people listen your side of a story. Because America did not have the side of story Uganda. Everything was read in the media without really listening what Uganda has to say about the AGOA. So we engaged the US trade representative, we engaged the private civil society, we engaged a member for parliament, a member for Congress. That's also something we have done from December 6th through December 12th, 2023. Another thing we are really doing right now, there is one of some trade mission which took place here in February. These people from Detroit, Michigan, traveled to Uganda to identify they can buy Uganda-made products. Also, lastly, on those actions or activities we are doing, we intend now to engage African American to see if Uganda can have investors, investments from African American. We intend to organize what we call Pan-African Congress Business Forum. Before I hand over to Professor Matanda to take you through what it's about, that's the real reason why we're here, by the way. The main issue we are here is to organize an upcoming Pan-African Business Forum. We want to engage people who look like us, who are our brothers, sisters. We want to make sure they are the one to come first to show Uganda is open for business. Regardless of AGOA, we can always continue to do business of the US, doing business with our brothers and sisters. So also, when I was here in 2022, I had the privilege to meet with some of the members of parliament. I learned that Pan-African Congress Secretariat is based here in Kampala. We want to make sure what Uganda is about Pan-Africanism. To let people know, those who don't know, the Uganda role is playing in terms of building one Africa we want. Uganda has been a key player in this role. That's why we want, instead of going to politics, we want to do business. Our focus is doing business. Of course, you can do business without politics. I have to tell you, our chamber is also a lobbyist in the US. We're registered as a lobbyist. So we lobby as well the member for Congress to make sure African countries are not affected. You can't do trade without involving politics, but we focus more on trade. So I will hand over to Professor Matanda to tell you what is Pan-African Congress Business Forum will look like. What do we want to achieve by doing this? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kamanzi. I'm going to give you a very short anecdote. Every single time I tell somebody I'm a professor of American politics, everybody asks me, why didn't you study African politics? And why did you have to study American politics? My response is very simple. The United States is the world's largest market. The United States has the world's largest contributions to the diaspora. It doesn't matter what the European Union does. It doesn't matter what China does. It doesn't matter what any of the other countries do. The United States will and shall remain a very important player in this world. If you're looking for $6 billion, it can take you 6 months to get it from the European Union, but if you say things in the right way in the United States, you can get it in 12 hours. I'll say it again. If you're looking for $6 billion and you speak to the right people, you can get it in 12 hours. It's because there is so much money sitting everywhere. There are things called private placement roadshows. If Passaid came to the United States and said, we're going to go to Kansas and Missouri, and we are going to basically present Uganda as a viable option, you will get that money. Which brings us to why the Pan-African Business Conference, the Pan-African Congress Business Forum is very important. There is so much money amongst the African diaspora. But what was very interesting is the Pan-African Congresses, which started happening in the 1900s, didn't have influence because they lacked the BF. They did not have a business forum. Now, for those that understand American foreign policy, they know that most of our policy is not made by the business community. It is made by the NGO sector. American foreign policy for Uganda is not made by the business community. So what Chairman Robogo is doing, my father is doing, is basically to bring the private sector back into the business, because the business forum is not going to achieve its objective. Ultimately, when we get the Pan-African Congress Business Forum, I'm just showing you the organizing team. I'm just telling you that there's a real mission, but look at some of the keynote speakers that we intend to have. Ambassador Johnny Carson has been tasked with channeling $55 billion to the region. We don't need 10% of that. We don't need 5% of that. What we need is 0.1% of that. Let me just say we need 1% of $55 billion. If you remember your math, it is not a lot of money, but there is something that is called signaling capital. That young man who was doing vanilla is admissible into the United States under what they call MFN, Most Favored Nation. It is not under AGOA, but guess what? Because they cut off AGOA, vanilla has lost because of signaling capital. What we're trying to do here is bring people like Johnny Carson to signal to the world that Uganda does not arrest homosexuals as soon as they come through the door. That Ugandans wear suits. That Ugandans have very powerful institutions. That there are members of parliament in this room right now that also manage the entertainment industry. I'm talking about you. It is very important for us to remind people that Uganda has very strong institutions. To end, a person like Richelieu Dennis has $150 million. Of that $150 million, how much money does Uganda need? All we have to do is to take $1 million from that man, and his friends will say, where did you put your $1 million? I want to put my $1 million there. And if he has 40 friends, that's 40 million. Small amounts of money can become big, signaling capital. A person like Denise Laurent Monte is a government official in charge of the diaspora. Let's just move to the next slide. This conference is going to have very specific sponsors. When we talk about Uganda Airlines is of absolute importance to the relationship between Uganda and the rest of the world. Jennifer, you and I are friends. I can talk about Uganda Airlines all I want, but the reality is it's beyond Jennifer. This is an element of Uganda's national security, whether you like it or not. What is the world's most important developmental tool for a country like Uganda? It's foreign direct investment. All these things represent foreign direct investment. A conference like the Pan-African Congress Business Forum is about national security. It's about the future, which is why the theme is focusing on the next 100 years. That year, 2062, is of absolute importance to this country. I'm not going to speak for too long anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Matanda. So where do we go from here? What are our asks, especially to members of parliament? Because you are the one to make sure you have a laws, vote budget, or do many things. We need you. We need to partner with you. We're here to invite you to work with us. So how can we work with you? Number one, we want to call the government and the parliament to be able to really have regular briefings like this one, a conversation like this one. We want to really, on a regular basis, to have you, to have a conversation like this one, to engage each other, talk to each other. That's one, number one. Second one, Chairman Rabogo tasked me. He said, Olivier, I need from you $2 billion of Ugandan export to the US. So how do we move from 67 million US dollars as exports from Uganda from 2022 to $2 billion US dollars for the next 3 to 5 years? How do we increase the market activities? You need to make sure you increase the budget per se, those who are involved in trade. If you want to export for $2 billion US dollars as revenues, I'm asking you, the special member for parliament who are here, can we at least help us to have $5 million US dollars on an annual basis as a budget to help me to really to export more product to the US? Because you have to invest to be able to bring the revenue in, right? I told you I'm a finance, investment banker by profession. Money, you have money, you get money. If you no money, no way. We had to have what we call triple Ds, right? Decisional maker, dollars, and so you need to make sure you have decisional makers, you have money, then you can drive revenue, dollars, right? Triple Ds. And then, so we need to reinstate AGOA. We want to work with you. I want just to ask Professor Matanda, by the way, who worked in the Congress. He's an expert at everything we are doing. All of us who are coming for solid background of working with the Congress. We are calling a member for parliament. If you work with us, we have access in the Congress. As a matter of fact, when the Speaker of the House was being elected as the Speaker of the Parliament, Chairman Rabogo was on the floor of the Congress, meeting with a member for Congress on behalf of the Ugandan government. You see, those kind of work we are doing. Professor Matanda, can you take them through what will it take to reinstate AGOA back? Uganda can be back into AGOA. It's possible, it's doable.